So synthetic data, is data that may be generated for testing purposes. So when we talk about synthetic data, it's data that is just being, generated by a machine to inform different learning models. And machine learning takes on large language models, natural language processing, but there are two different, let's just call them, two different ways of learning and training those models. There are a multitude of ways, but supervised learning and reinforcement learning usually is what people will work with when we're trying to generate data and understand, let's just call it the data characteristics and the data function. AI agents come into play with both supervised learning and reinforcement learning. So for example, if I'm working in the realm of education and psychology, and I have a list of questions for different age groups and demographics, for example, I may want to use AI agents in conjunction with supervised learning and reinforcement learning on that specific model, on that list of questions, because the outputs will then be skewed and varied depending on the synthetic data that I'm using to train the model. With Gen AI, the challenge right now that we see is that there are different biases and prejudices, and there is a lack of critical discourse. So if I'm leaning one way, and I already have a bias in terms of political affiliations, ethics, culture, business morals, right? Certainly when I prompt the AI, my biases are going to come out, right? So when we talk about inclusion, really what we're talking about is education and bringing it really back to a level of critical discourse. Because if we keep having these biases and prejudices, we're just going to train the machines and the algorithms to be very slanted, and we unfortunately will exclude different groups of people. So diversity and inclusion is absolutely essential. And when we talk about real-time data, that is data that is, let's just say, generated from a multitude of different sources in real time. And I don't want to necessarily correlate real time as an analogy to production data, but it's probably the easiest way for people to grasp this very abstract concept of synthetic versus real-time data. So think of real-time data as data that's happening, just as it says, in real time in the world of production. Okay, so synthetic data, can it seep into the world of production data? Sure. If you're looking at any of these platforms right now, Microsoft, Apple, and how Gen AI is coming into the equation more and more, right? When we're talking about instant messaging, or just even Apple being embedded, Gen AI in the phones, like what are the risks associated with that, and how natural is the data when it's in real time. But in the, let's just call it classic blueprint definition of natural data, right, or real-time data, we're talking natural data that has not been tampered or manipulated or adjusted with any synthetics, any AI intervention. That you would see typically in applications that you're interacting with on a daily basis. So if we're doing online banking or our streaming services that all of us know and love, that is real-time data. It's happening in real time.